Hello and welcome to the impzonepod podcast. If you're here for the first time or back, hope you will enjoy this episode where we are digging again into some more TNA wrestling shenanigans. And today we are discussing Victory Road. This is part 2 preview for the card. They've added quite a few matches. I thought that there'd be some different matches, but hey, I'm okay with them. So I guess setting things up for Bound for Glory, more or less. I guess so. But we'll talk more about that as we go along. I think the most major match that they sort of set up here is the Knockouts title match. Jordan Grace versing NXT's Wendy Chu. So yeah, I think that this is one of those matches that will really help out somebody like Wendy. Even if in loss or whatever, certainly in win, but I don't think that she's winning this one here. But then again, I could be super duper wrong, whatever. But hey, I don't see it. But anyway, we will wait to see, because again, like maybe this is something more that we could see from WWE. Grace is kind of sort of really lost, well, not lost, but ran out of challengers in TNA. I think that they've kind of gone down this route where she's sort of become the John Cena of the place. Well, not even that, but sort of the John Cena of the place. Like, she's the only one that's sort of gotten a big push and no one else really has. But then again, I think, again, like I said before, with them trying to fill out another women's division, not just a singles division, them trying to fill out their tag team division, it really thins the roster of how many people are going for the Knockouts title. Of course, there is a couple of people there, but and sort of that sort of thing, but still, it's a little bit like iffy on where things are at sometimes and whatnot. So. But I just don't see this happening. Of course, I know what I want to see happen at Bound for Glory for Grace, but it looks like we're going to get Xia Li in TNA at some point, and you've got to start thinking what you're going to do with her in TNA. But I feel like, again, like if you're going to build somebody to Bound for Glory from, a month away, that's in TNA, and again, I'm going to start using that as my benchmark. It's like, well, there just isn't anyone, so it's just like, unless you're going to get Kylan King back, or unless you're going to get Killer Kelly back, or you're going to push Marsha to the top really hard, or unless you're going to push Alicia really hard to the top. Like, or you're going to actually do the whole thing with Rosemary, I guess. Like, that could be the only other option that I can realistically see on the TNA roster right now. And honestly, I don't know. I kind of do want to see Grace and Rosemary at some point, but yeah, I don't know whether that's bad. I know it's like, well, does it really matter in some sense? Because it's like, well, I'm sure the main event, whatever that is, will try to carry it. So again, does it really matter what they're doing? But again, it matters what every division's doing, in my opinion, and I think in everyone's opinion. You want every division to feel like it's hot. Not just, here's some people from the other side or from another company or whatever else that are coming in to help it out. You want that division to feel like it's good on its own and it will sustain itself, within itself. And you've got to give more people, and especially more heels, on this roster for that women's division. Like if Jordan's going to be the top woman, then she's got to have some competition. and she's got to have lots of competition, so that she's got something to work with. So yeah, I don't know, or that, or turn her heel. I don't know, but yeah, it's a tough set of circumstances. But anyway, I do just see Grace just retaining here. Maybe eventually, like I could almost see that she turns heel, but I don't see it right now. So yeah, whatever. We'll move on. The Hardys are taking on First Class. Like, I don't know about this one. The Hardys just beat the system on this week's episode of TNA Impact, which I think was very silly in many ways, because it's like, well, they were about to go and face the ABC, and they could have used a win, even a cheating win or something or whatever, to build themselves up. And I keep thinking, like I said before, that they're perhaps building to something with like the Hardys, the ABC, and the system all in a big triple threat, Full Metal Mayhem style match, maybe. I don't know. That will be. It'll be interesting to see what they're doing with that, or just like the Hardys against ABC, maybe. But I don't know. Tough to say, tough to figure out, because it's like, well, what's the circumstance here? But like looking at this match between the Hardys and First Class, you start thinking, well, the Hardys don't need to win. They honestly don't need to win. Like, but then again, you start thinking, well, like if they're going to go and do something, it's like, well, having that little bit more momentum on their side wouldn't be bad. Or, they're a legacy act, and people love the nostalgia and love the star power of these guys and whatnot and all that. And I love them too. I don't want people to get this twisted in their mind or whatever, but you've got to build these new stars. You've got to be these new factions and whatnot. First Class have just lost to the ABC as well, and the same with the tag team ranks. It's a bit thin in many ways, and it feels like, well, what are you going to do there? You need more teams in that area, and you need more heel teams for the ABC to work with. And again, the same problem where it's like, well, you can't just bring in teams from outside. Yes, that's cool when that happens, but it's like, well, that can't last forever. And it's not going, it doesn't really go anywhere, because it's like, well, are they going to be here next week? Are they going to be here next month? Are they going to be here for longer than a few months or whatever? That's what I mean. Like, if WWE sends somebody over, it feels like it's a very one-off, or a very like, oh, well, maybe they're here this week and maybe they'll be there in a few weeks or something or whatever. But it's very like, we don't know what we're doing. And like I've said before, it feels like very much WWE doesn't really want to send anyone of real big significance to TNA. Like Wendy Chu so far is probably the biggest star that they've sent. Like you could argue Wentz or Wesley was the next biggest star, I guess, or maybe the biggest star. I don't know. So I don't know. There's that, I guess. So I don't know. It's just my perspective again is that even saying yes, you need to keep your main event. Well, I don't want to say the Hardy's a main event, but they are a main event. They're high caliber wrestlers who can always be counted on to, well, I guess not 100% deliver in the ring, but like they still deliver pretty well in the ring, and people will still pay to see them. And if they want to have one more run in WWE, a retirement run or something or whatever else it is, that's what they've got to bring. They've got to bring this to being like, well, this is our last little hurrah here in TNA, and we want to end it off in a high note, and then we want to go to WWE and end our careers on a big high note. Like, so I think that is the plan, and that seems like what's like they're trying to build. So building them up to a certain point is necessary, because you want to have them seen as being legit contenders. I think that if the System versus Hardys match had have happened next week or whatever, that would have been better, because then, or even just like again like another rematch of some sort would have been good, or just like not have this match on the card or whatever here. I don't understand this doesn't make any sense again, like, or something else. Have, like, you should have had the Hardys, come out in the match and say, hey, we beat you, so we, or, like, yeah, do that, be like, hey, we beat you, so now it's going to be a, you know, three, 6-man tag, 3 teams, triple threat teams, or whatever match, whatever you want to call that. Um, you know, so that wouldn't be bad, I think. That, but then again, as I said, that seems like they're building to that, to Bound for Glory. But again, that's probably why they shouldn't have won this week. They should have probably won after this, and then set up a match, sort of to end it. But whatever, I don't know. Another match, we've got PCO and Rhino versus Matt Cardona and Steph DeLander. Now, what the heck is going on here? I don't even know. This is kind of weird. I kind of feel like Matt Cardona is gonna skimp out on this match yet again, because he's skimped out on every match that he's been in thus far. So I wouldn't be too surprised if he brings somebody else in to tag for him. But I feel like, whoever he's bringing in is going to have to do like most of the work here, because they're going to have to face off against PCO and Rhino. Because I feel like, well, even if Steph was to get in there, it's like, well, what's she doing against Rhino? Like, seriously. Like, like, she could trip him up, or she could do some things like that, or distract, or whatever. Those little things, those heel things that would normally work, or whatever. But I don't think that they'll work in a match like this, where she have to actually get in the ring. I don't see that working, and she's certainly not gonna do much against PCO, her husband. Let us not all forget, at least in storyline or whatever. But still, like when you're talking about this match, that's, you've got to consider the situation that she's in. And like, I feel like, again, this feels like it's sort of building to something between PCO and Matt Cardona, for the property of Steph DeLander, or for the, I don't know, for Steph DeLander's freedom of some sort. I don't know what you want to call it, because it's certainly not for her as an entity. You can't treat her like an entity, like an object or whatever. So whatever, I don't know. This is really weird. But again, I wouldn't be too surprised if Matt Cardona doesn't actually wrestle in this, because yeah, that there's some heel stuff there for that, I guess. So makes some amount of sense, and whatnot. So it's kind of cool there in some ways. But again, it's sort of like, well, you're promising the fans something, and when you're not delivering to them a decent replacement, or a on par replacement, it's very, very tough. So yeah, there is that. We'll look at the now countdown to Victory Road matches. Steve Macklin and Eric Young, what a team, and Jake Something and Hammerstone. Now, I kind of wanted to see this. This is kind of cool. I kind of like Hammerstone and Something. That seems like a kind of cool big man team. I kind of wanted to see what Jake could do in a singles run. Maybe this is just a one-off match, but then again, I kind of feel like, as I said, the tag team division really needs more teams, especially heel teams. And not that you can never do single stuff with him again, but like, it sort of feels like that's kind of where you're pitching it right now. You're pitching him to being a tag team guy, but I kind of want to see him as a singles guy. I don't know, but it's so tough, because again, it's like, well, you need those tag teams. And I think like Macklin and Young doesn't feel like that they're gonna be a team. Like AY's tagged with a few people here and there over the last like few months and whatnot. So I don't really see this being a ongoing thing. But then again, as I sort of said, I don't really see what you're kind of doing here. Like you've already got a story here with something and EY, so maybe they're building to them at Bound for Glory, maybe. So I don't know, but as I say, as I said before, when you're looking at this card and you're looking at who is going to face who or whom at Bound for Glory, that's what you've got to start looking at. You've got to start looking at this is the start to a build for Bound for Glory, not just these are matches in of themselves. They have stories and stakes and whatnot behind them, of course, as we know. But again, beyond that, you've got to start saying, well, where are these stories and stakes and whatnot going? Another countdown to Victory Road matches between Kushida and Leon Slater. It's nice to see Leon back. Ugh, terrible. I obviously can't speak anymore, but whatever, it is what it is. Sometimes, you guys, I hope that no one misnomes that for me not just screwing up and misspeaking there. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this. It's sort of like one of those matches. Again, it's like, well, Kushida's been around for a long time. He's done a lot of stuff. He's one of the best, like, junior heavyweights around. Like, we saw him in his match with Gresham, which, he won and whatnot. And we just recently saw Gresham with his masked character, some sort of internal struggle between him and his, other masked self or whatever and whatnot's going on there. So I'm glad to see that is still a thing and it still exists and it's still a, something that, like we're going to see more of this. It's not just done and over. I don't know exactly what you're going to do with it, but here's an obvious kind of out, and it kind of gives you another obvious out to why Leon perhaps wins when maybe it's tough to say that he 100% should. He's a young kid and certainly deserves opportunity. He's gotten a few opportunities here and there. I won't say he hasn't got many, but he hasn't got many opportunities consistently. And that's what he needs. He needs these consistent, like, every single week. Well, not every single week, but every single week you're sort of seeing him, at least he's there and, you can sort of feel like, this is where he's at and this is where he's going and he's involved and he's going somewhere. So, but yeah. So I don't know whether I actually said predictions for most of these matches. I know I said it for the Wendy Chu match, and I think I sort of said it for the Hardys versus First Class. I think that the Hardys probably are going to win, just based on the idea that they're going to do something big at Victory Road, though I still feel that maybe even First Class, maybe just make it four-way, like, I don't know. But still, like, you've got to do something with them, and you've got to do something big with them. And, if you keep having these guys trade wins, okay, all right, this starts making some amount of sense. If you give the Hardys the big win, it sort of feels bad, but then again, it's like, well, I don't know, because again, like, you want people to feel invested in the babyface journey and their rise, and it still feels like they're in that, space of being great or whatever, and one of the most legendary tag teams ever. So it's like, well, just keep them doing that. Honestly, I don't even know if it matters if Matt's wrestling or whoever he's like getting the sub in for him or whatever. Or, like, being 2-on-1, almost no matter who it is, they're just losing, even if it's Matt or whoever. unless like Matt literally gets two people and subs out, Steph DeLander. So I don't really see the point in having the match that structured that way. I just don't see the point in it. Um, but whatever. Like I think with Kushida, that feels like my pick that Leon will win, perhaps with like Gresham interfering or whatever else, something else. I don't know. Um, I don't know because it almost feels like their story was already done in some ways. Um, so maybe this, but then again, you don't want to feel like, oh man, they're just going back to this, like, or whatever. But then again, you want to feel like, oh, it really is, concluded or whatever. Didn't really feel like it was 100% concluded or whatever, and not satisfactorily. So I don't know. Macklin and Young, I don't know, versus Jake and Hammerstone. Like I said, I just don't feel like this is a permanent team build up for either of these teams. I don't know. I don't know what you're going to do with Hammerstone. Like, Hammerstone seems to just lose all the time. He hasn't really won very many matches, so it's like, it feels like the dude needs to win a lot and and actually be somewhat of a threat at the upper card level, because again it's like, well, you need these upper card guys for Nemeth to go through, so you need guys to feel like they're somewhat up there that could challenge him or whatever. Same with before, like I felt like Khan, why were there doing all these matches with Khan, but he never won a single one of the matches? Yes, he looked good after the match or whatever else it was here and there, but that never translated to anything because he never won a match, like, and if it was just to build PCO, okay, but or just give something for PCO to do. Oh, okay, well, that's kind of, like, where's the drama? Like, where's the real drama? He's got to overcome the odds. He's got to overcome a loss. He's, like he couldn't quite get there, and like then he got there because like all the handcuffs or whatever were taken off or whatever else and whatnot, like, or whatever. But still, you want to position these young guys like, and I even consider still Macklin a young guy because he really is, but he's sort of been to that mountaintop, he's been to that peak, he's been the world champion. So, and I still feel like he could be world champion, but I really feel like he's better off as a heel. So I don't really understand this positioning of keep trying to position him as something of a baby face or whatever else or whatnot. I don't really get it, but whatever. But still, like, I think Jake and Hammerstone need to win. Like, I don't know. It's tough again because it's like, are you going to build to something with between EY and Hammerstone at Bound for Glory? Are you going to build to something between Macklin and Hammerstone at Bound for Glory? I don't know. Like, like I don't see you building to some sort of match between these teams again. I don't know. It's nice to sort of see that, like some of these guys are getting more opportunities and whatnot, and there's more opportunities on the card for some of these people, and it's nice to see that, the other women's match that's actually on this card is actually on the proper main card and not just on the pre-show like it's almost seemingly always been. Some of these matches I do feel like they're a little bit like, I don't know, filler-ish. But then again, like the ABC, the Hardys versus First Class, that one feels a little bit filler-ish. But then again, it's the Hardys, so it's like, well, they're a really big attraction. So it's like, well, fair enough. I get that. But then again, they really sold out a lot of tickets. Apparently, this is the highest sold TNA event in 2024 in the US, which also means it's probably the highest sold TNA event in the last 10 years or so, besides the Slammiversary in Canada. That was just a few months ago or so. So it's looking like 2 or 3K, maybe four, I think, maybe somewhere in there. I'm not 100% on the exact numbers. Somebody will come up with those exact numbers, or we'll see it when it's live and how it's going. And the thing is, TNA's been tracking pretty well over the last few months, like throughout this whole year. They've been tracking really well. Not every show has been absolutely sold out, but every show has been fairly, well packed. I mean, there's been maybe like a couple of seats empty in some of these places that they've gone, um, except for like the actual live uh, shows that have the pay-per-view attached or whatever, or the special attached, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, like, when they do these live shows, they get a lot more, and that's kind of cool that Victory Road is sold out. Is oversold. Hard to Kill, it was, I believe, at the start of the year, and Emergence, and all these other shows that were in the US. The only show that's behind is Slammiversary in Montreal or whatever. Um, in terms of this year, and in terms of in the last 10 years or so, or whatever it is. So again, that's really good in many ways, but also it's like, well, does that project towards Bound for Glory? Because Bound for Glory is going to be in a pretty big venue from what we've seen, and I've already looked at the seating there for Bound for Glory, and all the ringside seats. Well, not ringside. I mean, like, well, obviously, like front row seats. Like, I mean, all the seats that are, not in the rafters, effectively, are sold out. All the floor seats. So yeah, they're all sold out. So it's only the rafter general admission seats that remain now. So they've sold approximately probably a third or so of their seats out for Bound for Glory. So there's still quite a few seats there, and I'm pretty sure that they could open up some more seats as well, perhaps. Or even, again, maybe they'll move to a bigger arena, who knows. But yeah, like, they could still pack in some more people there, I think, potentially, if the tickets start selling. And it does depend on, as I sort of said, it feels like it's really tough to point your finger and say, okay, well, this is where we're going, and this is what we're doing, and this is who's going to face who at Bound for Glory. If Xia Li does come in, it feels like she can't be the one to challenge Jordynne Grace so soon. But again, as I said, I kind of want Kylan back, and it sort of feels bad that she's not back already, because again, it's the same problem. It's like, well, you've only got a month or so to kind of build to a big match between the two. So that's really tough. And getting somebody to feel like they're a legitimate contender to one of the most dominant wrestlers that's in the division right now is a really big ask. So that's tough. Again, not exactly the same with Nick Nemeth, but it's sort of the same with Nick Nemeth. It's like, besides like Josh Alexander and Moose, maybe, like, I don't know, Macklin, Hammerstone, something, like, who are the main guys that will be on this roster that he could face? Again, it's sort of really tough, to figure that out. Maybe you could pick Eddie Edwards or Brian Myers, but then again, that doesn't feel like that's big enough. Again, you could pick maybe AJ Francis or maybe Matt Cardona. I don't know. That doesn't really make much sense. I don't think, at least in my opinion. So it's kind of tough there. Like with the X division, it's a little bit easier. Like tag team divisions does feel a little tough in some ways as well. So you're continuing to try to figure that stuff out. Unless, again, of course, you're kind of going to turn Nick Nemeth heel or whatever. Then you can work with Joe or something. Or maybe you just work with Joe. I don't know. Maybe Kazarian. I don't know. But then again, that doesn't feel like, again, like the top level wrestler of or whatever. But then again, they've been pushing off, Frankie and Nick Nemeth's match for a while, so it kind of feels like they could do something there. John Schuyler and Jason Hotch, they're mostly just a tag team. We've seen Khan return. He really hasn't done anything since returning. So I don't know about that. Plus, again, it doesn't feel like he's been put in the right position or pushed to the right degree to sort of get that. Maybe Callahan, I don't really see that, but just sort of trying to think through the roster and whatnot that's actually there that could realistically be challengers. You've still got Trent Seven floating around, but then again, he's still babyface. I don't know. I really don't know. You've got a bunch of people that are on this roster, but again, if somebody is coming in from WWE at Bound for Glory, like, again, it feels like, well, because everything is about story, and so far, like the Wendy Chu thing felt like a big story. So I guess you've kind of got to continue with that. So I guess like it's Rosemary versus Grace. That's the only thing that makes any kind of sense. That's sort of narratively connected to that. I don't know. So yeah, not that you 100% have to be narratively connected to that, but again, it's like, well, who else is there on the roster? What could be bigger besides somebody from WWE coming in? And that's really the only thing that makes any sense to me, at least from that title perspective. From the X Division title perspective, I don't know. Like, I thought Hammerstone was pretty cool being in the X Division. I think he could do some cool stuff. I kind of feel like Gresham really should win this belt, or even just like try to win the world title. Like, I kind of want to see Gresham versus Nemeth. I think that would be like really fun, but I don't know whether it's like the best thing to put on at the main event. Like, again, that kind of sounds interesting or whatever, but I don't know how you could put it together per se. So, and I don't think it's the biggest thing that you could do, so it's really tough. In that tag team division, again, it's like, well, who else is there? There's First Class and the Hardys. You've got Something in Hammerstone. You've got Sinner and Saint, but they're not really there that much. You've got the Good Hands. So got a few people there. I don't know. What else? Who else have you got? You've got just looking to see who else is in here. Yeah, that's about it. The Rascals. So, I mean, a big 6-man or 5-man or whatever, or even 8-man match, that could be crazy, and crazy fun, but like, it's like at some point there's too many moving parts sometimes, and it's like, well, yeah, you want to do something big, but you want to do it like with only like the best few teams. So I don't know. So you could almost have something with the X Division title, but I don't know, because you're continuing to say, well, Kaz wants to challenge Nemeth. He was going to get he should be absolutely hounding Wentz. That could be a good position for him. Like, and then just like, try to get it at Bound for Glory, or try to get in the Battle Royal thing, and then challenge. I don't know. That could be somewhat interesting. I don't 100% know. Maybe again, you having somebody else coming in. Like, we've talked about it a lot, but at this point, I don't know how much WWE is truly committed to like bringing like people in, and it's like been funny with the build up to this show that Laredo Kid's been pretty involved, but he's not on the card in any way. So it's like, well, what's he doing? Like, what's going on here? You're assuming that he's gonna be here somewhere, or maybe at least at the tapings. I don't know. So, and you've got that whole stipulation with Spitfire like breaking up if they don't win the titles. So again, it feels like they will win the titles, but then it's like, well, Militia, I guess, will have a rematch, I guess. But then it's like, well, what are you going to do after that? And you've got really nothing to do after that. So it's like, I don't know. Tough there. That's why I find that the women's tag team titles are so much more difficult. Because at least, like, you could see some things with the men's tag teams. Like, there are a few men's tag teams and whatnot, and you could, like, figure something out. Like, it just feels like the women's roster is, like, too thin with the tag titles again. So, I don't know. They try to make it work, and they try their best, I guess, is what I say. But, I'd like to see some other wrestlers from TNA's past come back. I'm kind of wondering what Ash by Elegance is going to do. And it's sad to see Giselle Shaw kind of gone and whatnot and that sort of stuff. So it's like, it really sucks sometimes in that regard. So, but you can only do what we can do, and she's going off to have other opportunities. So I keep looking through things and trying to figure out what they're going to do or where they're going to go with things, or hoping that WWE is actually going to, inject something of, some more, something bigger, or at least lend them somebody for something bigger. Like, I don't know. If this relationship between WWE and TNA is to really continue, it really has to benefit TNA, as much or even more than WWE. And now, yes, some people are saying that they wouldn't have sold out or whatever if it hadn't been for WWE. But the thing is, they sold out before this relationship with WWE. They sold out Hard to Kill at the start of the year, whatnot. And that didn't have that big of a build, honestly. Like, it really didn't. Like, it had a bit of a build, but it didn't have that much of a build. People were hyped to hear that TNA was back, and that sold the show, Like, this is going to be the first show back under the TNA banner. And that's what a lot of people were, kind of talking about and hoping to see, TNA, the old TNA, or, well, sort of the old TNA, that old ethos sort of, or the best parts of it sort of come back, because again, I feel like people knew what TNA was, like, or at least had some rose-tinted glasses view of, like, the best parts of TNA or whatever. Maybe they had, like, some bad memories of some parts of TNA or whatever, but they were like, oh man, well, maybe like this is a new TNA and whatever, and we'll go in a new direction, and it'll be like the best bits of TNA, take the best bits of the past and try to make it into the future, redo it. And I think just having the three letters and having that be the identity of the company just made it so much easier, because people knew what TNA was, TNA Wrestling or whatever. People didn't really know what Impact Wrestling really was, and or whatever, and I still think that some people didn't really think that TNA was still kind of alive or whatever, that promotion or whatever. So some people were like, oh, this is a reboot. Like, they haven't had a show, or they haven't been around for the last whatever number of years, 10 years or whatever it was. And now they're just having a new show completely out of nowhere and whatever. But no, they've been doing stuff and struggling along and whatnot for many years, But it's nice to see that they've got a lot of success and whatnot. And it's not down to just one thing, because, again, they have, really for the last 5 or 6 years or whatever it's been putting in just really good, consistent work, putting in really good, consistent wrestling, putting in really good, consistent storytelling. And that's what's made everything work. They've built their roster throughout the last 6 or so years, really. They've built everyone that's on that roster from, indie nobodies, effectively, or whatever, to almost semi-mainstream, appeal. People who are on, who are going to the WWE Royal Rumble and NXT and whatnot. Though some of those are the more casual fans. Yes, the NXT audience is a more hardcore casual fan base, but again, they're still more of a casual fan base. The TNA fan base and the more indie wrestling fan base is the really hardcore audience and whatnot, because they get into, unless it's just your local wrestling product or whatever else it is, and you don't get WWE coming through a lot, then it's a little bit different. But again, even then, it's well, most people won't go to their local indie wrestling promotion because they probably don't even know about it. So there is that out there as well. So, but yeah, no. I think everything in some ways is positive. Just having people go, oh yeah, this TNA star of Jordan Grace, wonder what she's doing, or whatever. This TNA guy, Joe Hendry, he's awesome. Wonder what he's doing, Wonder what is happening in TNA. And there's this whole thing between Wentz and Wes. So they're going to have, what's the match that they're going to have? I don't remember what was it. I Quit or something. I don't know. I can't remember. What was the Last Man Standing, or was it just some hardcore match? I don't know what it was. I can't remember. I did hear it or whatever. So maybe they're building that to Bound for Glory. I don't know. I don't know. I guess, or maybe, but as I said, I kind of feel like everything that's happening in WWE is more so happening to WWE's, own kind of beginning, middle, and end, and satisfying conclusions, not TNA conclusions per se. So the rivalry between Wentz and Wes isn't really, in my opinion, going to play out very much in TNA and whatnot. It's really just going to play out in NXT. So, and like I said, I don't feel like, somebody said this before, that that WWE is building the TNA stars. Really? No, not really. They're getting them exposure, if anything. That's about it. that's because like TNA is and the wrestlers themselves have really built themselves, like, you know, throughout being in TNA, you know, and throughout being, you know, in contention for titles and you know, feuds and whatnot that they've gone through in TNA. Like they're like Josh Alexander versus Joe Hendry. They just really built that, you know, feud up this week with Joe Hendry's video promo on Josh and whatnot. And you know, this is going to be. I remember that Joe actually had a match with Kurt Angle. I can't remember. I think it was on a WCPW show of some sort, I think. But I don't know the details of it. I don't know who won. I don't know whatever. So it's almost like that match, but not. It's kind of that, but not. But yeah, that's kind of the level that this is on. This is something, again, that it feels like, you know, you're shooting somebody to the moon, because they are shooting to the moon. So it's like, this is the obvious, you know, direction to go. And just leading with that, put your best foot forward type thing, you know, can't really go wrong with that. Like, even if, like, again, you say, oh, well, he goes to WWE and, you know, gets challengers over there and puts the TNA title over there, it's like, well, that's still good, you know, because it gives that exposure to the TNA title on WWE shows. And again, like I was saying this before about the potential of hopefully TNA getting onto the USA Network. You know, like, I don't know, dudes. Like, you never say never in wrestling, as they say, but maybe not. But even if it was just like a one-off, as I sort of said, like, that wouldn't be bad. Like, just to show, hey, well, they got, you know, 1 million views, whatever it was. So they would still be worth 1 million views. Now, there was an article recently that I did see that I can't remember who it was talking. One of the Anthem board, whatever, that's working as part of TNA or whatever. That they're, I think, from the summary of what I remember from what they were saying, that they were looking for more online streaming or other sort of areas as well, not just TV. They are looking for distribution or for some sort of TV, which is good. I'm glad that they are, in fact, going to look at doing that. They need to do it soon, and as I said, like, do it, cowards. Like, put this on and let's just see how it bloody goes or whatever. And I'm still going for that petition, guys. Like, you know, so anywhere, you know, like, let's get somewhere, or let's, you know, even if it's still on Access TV as well, you know, let somebody else or somewhere else broadcast it as well, even if it's like a one-off or whatever. See how the numbers do, and then have people go, okay, well, we've seen how the numbers did. The numbers did either really well or really shit or whatever it was. But build it up. Don't just say, oh, yeah, it's going to happen and whatever else. No, you need to realistically, you know, promo the heck out of this. You know, TNA is coming this Thursday, whatever it is, you know, for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. You know, even if it's just a one-off show, it's coming this week, you know, tune in. And they've also got to put on big blockbuster matches or moments or whatever else it is to try to get that, you know, audience to try to, you know, tune in and see, okay, what the hell is happening or whatever it is. Even if you can go online and see the results or whatever else it is, that you go, damn, no, I just need to see this. What is happening? Where, you know, where is this going? And how is this going to develop? You know, like, we all know what, as I said, like, kind of what I want. And I kind of still think that the majority of the fan base wants it. So, and if WWE are serious about this relationship with TNA, like one token wrestler here or there. If you're going to give them a token wrestler here or there, like at least give them somebody like, oh, I don't want to say too much negatively, but like the people that they have given them, like in comparison, as I sort of said before, have been very much the undercard guys of WWE NXT for the most part. Like they haven't given like, and again, that's perhaps just due to the fact that that's the roster that they have in NXT. They don't have that many like upper card people, like really upper card people, or main event level people yet. They're building that roster, and they've got they moved a lot of their talent from NXT to WWE, to Raw or to SmackDown or whatever it is. But yet there's not that many big names, I guess that's the best way to put it, as on NXT. So actually the TNA stars, when they're going over there, feel like they're pretty much the biggest name people, or on par with the biggest name people, at least, that are there. So there certainly is big names over there, like over Femi and Trick Williams and what's his name? God, my brain. It's not working. Wesley. Funny how a couple of those are former TNA talents and whatnot as well. But and Ethan Page, of course, as sort of a saying, and another former TNA wrestler. So yeah, but again, and Joe Hendry is right up there. Obviously, he's kind of being on both brands right now, quite a lot. So yeah, but yeah, guys, I'm hyped in many ways for Bound for Glory, but I'm also just like scratching my head a bit and thinking, man, like, what are they gonna do? How are they gonna do it? And I don't want them just to bring in somebody, from WWE. I don't want to just have somebody that's, got 1 month worth of build. I want to feel like this is somebody that's been on the roster for the last, couple of years or whatever it's been, and really, grafted and worked for it. So Kaz feels like an all right option, I guess. Not the best option, but if you give him the right story and enough heat with Nemeth, I guess that could work. It's almost like Christian Cage levels with Rhino, except for Rhino has the title, I guess. Like, just make it really, really personal. Like, have him invade his home, or something. Like, have him, like, do the whole Abyss Christian Cage thing where he drams him in the pool or something. I don't know, but again, like, whatever it takes for Kaz to, to get a match with Nemeth. And it didn't Kaz beat Ryan Nemeth a few weeks ago, whatever it was. Like, so it almost again feels like there's something there, and they've been kind of telling this story breadcrumb. I don't know. Is it? I kind of felt like this before, as we were sort of talking a while back about the rivalry that's kind of there between um, Joe Hendry and Kaz. They haven't really capped that off. So if you're just, I don't want to say Kaz is a transitional champion, but if effectively you're using Kaz as a transitional champion in a sense to get the title under Joe and giving Kaz his moment, like, why not? Why not? Like, and then you're going to build Joe for, I don't know how exactly you're going to build Joe, but again, like, solidly build Joe for a few months in a chase against, Kaz, and then freaking have him win it at an appropriate time. early next year-ish, sometime, you know, and then go from there, like a lot of the other things are tougher to figure out, but it's like, I guess you could see this, like, that could work, as I sort of said, that could make some sort of sense and that could work. But again, it's really tough, guys. So I'm trying my best to come up with some of this stuff and whatnot throughout this. But I hope, best comes to best, and we do get something from WWE. Like I said, like, we've been selling out some shows and whatnot, but you can't really put that down to WWE that much because they don't really promote, the TNA events, saying, "Oh, by the way, tune into Victory Road this week to see, TNA's show with this person and that person and these matches and whatnot. By the way, Joe Hendry's got a match on that show," or whatever. I haven't really seen it or heard it, at least, anyway. So, there is that. But still, like, unless you're going to bring somebody back from, like, WWE, like Chelsea or Mia or whatever, I don't know, or perhaps Ethan, again, like, that could work. Guess maybe that is what they're going to do. I don't know, like, big champion versus champion match. I don't know, but I don't know. Yeah. Tough to figure out, but still, the idea is always the same, isn't it? Like, of these things, book a heel against, a babyface. Easy, simple. Tell a story. Drag that story out to an event where there is some sort of payoff. Make people pay for said payoff. Like, that is what people want to see. Joe Hendry. That's the thing they want to see. So let's draw that out. Let's figure out how we get to Joe Hendry and make people pay to see it and make it a big event that draws the company and draws everyone money and hopefully, increased visibility, TV deals, increased distribution, whatever, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm pushing for and praying for, and, or whatever. I don't know, not praying because I'm not religious or whatever, but you know what I mean. That sort of thing. So, but yeah, I'm going to keep trying my best to say, hey, give TNA a chance. Give TNA a chance. Like, on a real network, like on a really big network, or get a real distribution deal, or even, again, like, I don't know whether they could be on Netflix or something, or Hulu or whatever else, but yes, something like that. Same thing. Like, if they are available on another streaming service, and whatnot, even if you're going to say, oh, well, they're still not PG, but they're TV 14 or whatever, whatever, cool. They don't have to be TV 15 or whatever else. They don't have to be so edgy. They can be a bit edgy at times. That would be fine with me. Absolutely, I would say. But again, they don't need to try to be so edgy. Like, they don't need to do that. Like, like, sometimes a certain feud or a certain wrestler or a certain situation, yeah, sure, push the envelope when you can, but don't do it with every person and every storyline at every single point, because it's not the same thing. It sort of dilutes the importance of it sometimes, and it's sort of, again, there's a lot going on in wrestling, and most people just know what's happening in WWE. So, again, it's one of those things. But you've got to offer people who are more hardcore fans, or more fans that are looking for something else, an alternative. And TNA is the alternative to AEW right now. But again, I want them to be a closer, second option, like, to AEW. I want them to be a closer third option. Like, I want people to feel like, holy crap, this is close call between these two companies in terms of, ticket sales, in terms of pay-per-view buys, in terms of, TV numbers, in terms of all those sorts of stats, in terms of YouTube subscriptions, YouTube views, all of that sort of stuff. So I want it to feel like, man, this feels like it's really close, these two companies in profits and whatnot and all that sort of stuff. I want that to be much, much closer, so that, then AEW might have to pull up their boots and say, okay, well, shit, we don't just have to worry about WWE. We have to worry about TNA over there getting hot. And, now let's pull up our boots, because I feel for them, and I hope they do as best as what they can as well. So, but anyway, guys, it's been a long one. Lots of debating here. I wouldn't mind discussing this more so with other people that are out there as well. So again, I might post that again out there to say, hey, if anyone's interested. But certainly for Bound for Glory, I might try to get something bigger together. Maybe it'll happen somewhere else, but I'll try to promote that here as well, just to say, hey, go and check that stuff out or whatever. But yeah, guys, hopefully we can build Bound for Glory as big as we can, and whatnot. Same for the rest of the year. It's not going to be very long. I mean, WrestleCade's there and whatnot. And then you've got Final Resolution. The final shows for the end of the year haven't been slated, but there probably won't be very much at the very end of the year. Like your Christmas holidays sort of time period is usually when things are just some taped stuff that are, like whatever, or just best of the year or whatever, that sort of stuff and whatnot. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, and whatnot. But guys, hope you have enjoyed. Hope you will join me again in another one.